Welcome to the Shrewdness. We are so excited about this baseball-focused endeavor. As teased in prior episodes, we are doing 15 to 20-minute primers for each MLB team to prepare you for this 2025 season, to help you with your fantasy baseball drafts and future bets, or simply to improve your knowledge as the season begins. From the projected starters to the prospects, we will touch it all and give our shrewd takes on the key to their success. So sit back, take some notes, and enjoy the show.
Hey, Shrewdness fans. Sports fans in general, I guess, whether or not you're a Shrewdness fan. We're back for more today. We're back in our Major League Baseball primers for the 2025 season. We're going to talk about the Angels today. Lou's going to lead us through that. Before we do, I want to just acknowledge those of you that are tuning into the Shrewdness maybe for the first time. We are moving up the charts, believe it or not, and starting to get some traction on social media. So
we'll get
please
more
continue.
if you continue to subscribe, like, follow, comment. So we're having a good time getting back on those. But yeah, we'll start at the beginning. Normally we say this for the end, but keep hitting the subscribe button. Like if you're listening right now and it's just right there, just hit it real quick.
It's so easy.
Follow.
It's so easy.
It's just so easy. And it really does help. So it helps get it all over the place and spread the word. And again, we do it to kind of help people out. So help us, help you, and help your friends.
That's right.
That's right.
Starting to get some traction, which is encouraging for us and hopefully helpful for you and your friends out there. So anyway,
hey Dexter, also we got to go ahead and mention, what do we have going on today? A four-banger.
A four-banger.
We do have the full set today. We got all the suits.
So we're four-banging it.
That's right.
we're banging it today. All four members of the Shrewdness,
Based upon
or as
our
Dexter affectionately calls it.
And lucrative contract that we signed, we are contractually obligated to go over the Angels today.
They are one of the 30 teams.
They are, in fact, one of them.
There is no relegation, unfortunately.
So let's go ahead and try to run through some Angelos stuff. Last year, they actually were projected to be a relatively reasonable high 70s, mid to high 70s team by both Fangraphs and Pacoda. And they won 63 games. So they not only went under, they went like hyper under. And easy to know how that happened. Mike Trout got injured after like a month and didn't play for the rest of the year. That's a lot of wins above replacement that they replaced with a replacement.
That's right.
This year, they are projected almost identically, only a win less per Fangraphs and Pacoda at 76 and 74 respectively. And their over-under is identical to last year's starting over-under, 72.5, which is under both projections as of right now. So there is no place of strength to start, so we're just going to start with the offense. And I just kind of tend to run down through some folks, and we'll use it as a jumping off point to talk about everybody.
Lou is going to use that term loosely, everyone.
Right.
Offense.
The one's batting.
Yeah.
One's attempting to score runs.
When they're not pitching, this is what he's going to describe next.
Yeah.
So this is probably similar to Pudge Rodriguez would probably tell these guys they're not good at baseball either.
That's a
They're
Patreon
not good.
reference.
Patreon reference.
All right. So I tend to go in order of position because lineups are fungible and they change throughout time. The other people here tend to go with some idealistic lineup in their head. So I start with position number 2, the catcher. They have actually an interesting, good catcher as catchers go. His name is Logan O'Hop. He's an O.Hop, I guess is how we would say it, right?
O.Hop.
He is 25, right-handed catcher. He actually posted a 2.7 WAR last year with 244, 303, 712 with 20 home runs. He's in his third year with the Angels.
It's not bad.
He hit 20 home runs and he's 25. It looks like he plays reasonably good defense. Most teams would take that for their catcher.
Absolutely.
Which tends to be an offensive hole. And he's theoretically on the come up, so that's always nice. And then they move over to first, and they have Nolan Schwanowell. I had to look that up. He is 23 and in his second year somehow, right? So he plays first. He's a left-handed batter. He hit 13 home runs in relatively limited action last year. Great OBP at 343, which is nice. And they have a lot expected out of him. Followed by at the utility, they got a bunch of potential options between their middle infield and third base. But the big one they have that's one of their veterans is Luis Rengifo. I'm going to say it right.
Rengifo.
Rengifo. For those at home who don't have
so the N is silent. The N is silent.
Rengifo. Switch hitting infielder, batted 300 last year, had a 347 OBP, very little pop with only 6 home runs. He won his arbitration and is actually getting $5.9 million this year based upon that pretty good season last year.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good defense too, but
I mean, he's a 300 hitter.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no pop, but he's
good
a 300
OBP.
hitter.
He is absolutely an asset.
And he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife too.
Yeah,
I think he plays all over the place, right?
He plays basically all the middle infield and third. So he's a switch hitter. Like he's just easy, sporky stuff that kind of does everything, puts people together. Yoan Moncada, they signed February 15th, and everybody was wondering
Here's where Yoan Moncada went.
everybody's wondering where he's going to go. Yoan Moncada, this is where Dexter's like, he was like a second overall pick in 1942 or something like that. I get it.
Not even that long ago.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he was this amazing talent. I saw him play in the minors for the Charlotte Knights.
Okay.
Yeah,
Look at you.
I did. I finally had a
watching
Dexterism.
some minor leagues.
I got a Dexterism where I saw Yoan Moncada hit one time in the minors. He was supposed to be amazing for the White Sox, and it never got there, largely due to injury. This year, everybody was wondering who's going to take a flyer on him. He still had an amazing OBP last year at 356, despite hitting 275, but he barely played. This is like very few at-bats, 40 at-bats to pull that stuff. His big year was 2019, where he pulled a 5.2 WAR.
It's a long time ago now.
Yeah, when he was 24.
Yep.
23.
What I didn't realize
that was
that
the thing.
He actually started with Boston.
He was a Boston prospect.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I thought he was always White Sox.
He was coming up in that organization, and then I can't remember the trade piece, but he was traded to the White Sox. Someone in that, I just cannot remember, the big old package group, and he was like the key piece of it.
I'll look it up.
But Yamagata, I mean, the White Sox seem to be already had their special, the preview on them. He is just one of many who just failed to contribute. And apparently one of his gigs it's never really left is he's like Peter Griffin, man. He's never run into any fast food he doesn't like. He eats like trash. He doesn't really take things seriously. He just comes in as a butterball and tries to play him well into shape. I think he's just not very professional. And he's wasted his entire 20s now. And I don't know if it's ever going to turn around. You don't start turning the corner at 30. There's only so many Josh Hamiltons out there.
Sounds like a guy that has never had discipline. Now he's losing his metabolism, and it's showing up.
Yes, it's going
more and more every year.
Get worse, right?
Yeah, he could be Alejandro Kirk soon.
So who was he traded for? Shrewdness favorite, Chris Sale.
Chris Sale, that's right.
Chris Sale. So the Red Sox traded.
Red Sox won that trade.
They traded Victor Diaz.
They did, in fact.
Michael Kopech and and Yoan Moncada for Chris Sale.
Kopech, that's the guy who was buddies with Pat Mahomes, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
is it really?
They came up together. They were, I think, on the same teams and stuff.
I think that's right.
It's crazy.
Weird. All I know is I went to go watch Michael Kopech at Birmingham. He was slotted to play, and it was his 21st birthday, and that dude suddenly was scratched. And I was like, you a-hole, could you not just got hammered the night before? Just wait till it's not your turn to pitch, you idiot. So he was just like puking in buckets on the sideline. Like, God, what an ass. Because I went, you have to pick out games. I had a limited work schedule. I took a day off. Went up to go watch his tool bag.
Right.
And he throws 100 miles an hour. And again, not professional. So I think Moncada and Kopech, and a lot of those White Sox guys, they just never really turned the corner on how to be a professional baseball player.
That's right.
before we completely trash the guy, I've seen Moncada completely dismantle the Royals many years
for sure.
ago.
Yeah.
But he
For
carried
sure.
that team for a few years there. So
The dude has all kinds of talent.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's never
when
been
he was
lack of
younger,
talent.
I mean, like you said, Dex, he's been around for quite a while now, and he's still just 29. So
Yeah.
he can still play some ball. It's whether or not he's got the discipline to.
Yeah, I think he came over from Cuba when he was 17 or 18 is when he signed with.
So, speaking of professional, I guess effed my entire segue there. Thank you so much.
Screwed your flow up
Yeah.
right good, didn't we?
Very much so. So then we have Zach Neto, right?
He's a NATO player.
24-year-old shortstop who must be quite the defensive player. He was drafted in 2022 because his offense, he is a professional major leaguer. He hit 23 home runs. He's 249, 318, 761. But that would not account for a 5.1 WAR. So he's got to be a very good defensive player. But actually, Baseball Reference finally, I don't know if this was new or I just missed it, they actually explained their WAR numbers and what they actually mean.
What do we got?
Such
What do you
that,
mean, like the contributions?
Yeah, 0 is replaceable. Yeah, 0 is replaceable. I think it was 2. Yeah, 2+ was a starter. 5+ all-star. 8+ is MVP caliber.
MVP.
Yeah. So a 5
All-star
means
level.
he played at an all-star level based upon a combination of defense and offense. Especially, I get 23 home runs for a shortstop. I mean, you got to kind of like add in the extra. Not everybody has Bobby Witt, right? So
Yeah.
Actually, he's 24 years old. That's pretty good.
yeah. So
Well,
go
to your point, Lou, if you look at his defensive WAR last year, it was 5th highest in the American League.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
he actually his DWAR is very very good.
that dude's got some D. All right.
He's got
So
some
he's-
major D.
He's got some good D-war.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you said fifth, Chisholm?
Fifth overall
behind-
in the
so we
American
know-
League.
Gunner and Bobby Witt
Witt.
and
Who are the other two?
Ramirez would have been up there. Was there Ramirez?
Let me see. WAR. Let me see. DWAR.
Who's got the biggest D?
Okay, so Varsho.
Oh, yeah.
Varsho,
Remember, he
yeah.
was like a light hitting
Yeah.
guy for the
Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
And we were like, how did he get
He
such
got-
a high WAR? And Brew was
He-
like, well, you told me that the okay, cool.
He got a 3 in his DWAR, and then Jimenez for Cleveland was number 2. Duran for Boston.
Yep.
Number
That's
3.
how he got an 8.
Actually, number 4, Felix Fermin of the Kansas City
Wow.
Royals.
Right. I forgot we're going to get to it at the end.
Sneaky.
So
We'll
you
talk
said-
about that when we get to our Royals.
You
And
said
then Nito.
fifth in
Overall.
D-War.
Yeah, 5th in DWAR.
D-War. Okay. I
Yeah.
was thinking
For
overall.
those who don't follow the Royals,
Gotcha.
quick preview. Felix Fermin's year last year was historic. We're going to go into
Yeah.
it, but it was insane. You could not steal a base on him.
Yeah, it was
And-
awesome.
And so that was fantastic. So then there was
Owar was led by Judge last
Yeah,
year, who
shocker.
was 11.7.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you have Taylor Ward. Last year, Taylor Ward's trade rumor process was insane. It's like everybody and their brother wanted Taylor Ward, and for some reason the Angels would not give him up when they could have gotten quite the package. Everybody was linked to Taylor Ward, but nobody could get him. All right.
That's weird.
The reason is he was a 31-year-old, then 30, outfielder, third baseman who hits right-handed, had a 2.3 WAR, 246, 323, 748 with 25 home runs. Like, just a solid outfielder who you weren't going to necessarily have to give up everything for, but you'd have to give up something for.
Yeah.
He avoided arbitration, and he got a $7.8 million salary. So he's actually making reasonably good money for an overall mediocre to good player.
They must have been offering him just dog balls in a bag. And,
Right?
Like, otherwise, why are you hanging on to your 31-year-old if you're getting anything of value whatsoever?
So
I feel
many
like they
people
would have
wanted
taken
it.
it.
Really?
The Royals wanted him bad. Like, I don't know what they were expecting, but he would have absolutely just fix the Hunter Renfroe, MJ Melendez nonsense last year.
Appropriately, the Royals wanted him because if you look at who he comps to, his similarity score, one of his Hunter Dozier.
Oh.
So that's kind of
the good year or all the other years?
Yeah. That was actually a reasonably good year. Definitely a starter, definitely a major leaguer, and he performed way better than anybody the Royals had, and a lot of teams had holes that he would have filled. It's kind of weird.
Man, you know how many Angels games I watched last year? 0.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. 0. I just knew about Taylor Ward because of all the trades.
They didn't give you a bit. Once Trout went down, there wasn't a whole lot of reason to stay up for him, was there?
All right. And then you have Joe Adell. He's a 25-year-old outfielder who had a very horrible offensive year, other than the fact that he hit 20 home runs. So he was just a power-only guy, barely got on base.
Wow.
But did hit some home runs, so he's projected with. Once you see somebody get 20 home runs, they're going to give him another shot the next year. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
We've been doing this enough to see this.
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
been on the fringe of being good for years. I don't think he's ever going to be good. His whole problem coming up in the system was swing and miss and not making enough contact. And they're like, well, if he figures that out, he's got enough power. I'm like, well, yeah, there's the power. The 20 home runs, he probably hit 28 total balls. And so it's cool when like a lot of them leave the yard, but you got to just hit the ball more. And so he's really fast, a really good outfielder. He's supposed to be, I don't know, it's supposed to be him, Ohtani, and Trout for years. Instead, Ohtani's gone, Trout's a shell, and Adele sucks. So I was like, ugh.
Well, she had a good album with 19. It's just start to like fade.
That's it.
All right, moving on. Mike Trout, who posted a 1 WAR last year in 1 month of play. It might not even have been a full month. He's, of course, Mike Trout. He's amazing. He probably will put up a 4 or 5 WAR season this year if he can stay healthy. He can stay healthy.
Big F now.
Yeah, who knows? He's 33. Playing center field at 33, which is like, was it him and Judge? And this
is like his 14th season.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's just unbelievable.
It's crazy how good this. I mean, for anybody who's watching this, who are listening, who has never seen Mike Trout in person play, please do before he retires, because he's the best kept secret in Major League Baseball. It's really sad the dude never has broken through. He never left the Angels. He's a very loyal guy. He should have gone somewhere else, in my opinion, where he could have actually won.
Yes.
But he is, I mean, an incredibly complete player who's probably in the last couple of years of his completeness. So take the time to see it.
This may be the last year. So he's got one playoff game, right? Am I wrong in that? And he lost it. Wasn't it like a play-in game?
No,
and they lost it.
No.
No, he played against the Royals.
About this. Come on, man. This is a Patreon thing.
Patreon. Well,
2014, they got swept by the Royals. They were the number 1 overall seed. The Royals had to play their way in with the infamous playoff game. The next series, they came in and absolutely trashed the Angels and swept them.
Was that the only time he's been in the playoffs, though?
I believe so, yeah.
So they made it one time. So I guess it wasn't a play-in game.
Yeah.
That's just sad, though. I wish he would have gone to a real team when he was in his wheelhouse, because
he
deserved it, man.
Nobody was ever letting him go.
Bro's a 3-time
MVP. Free agent, though. He could have gone wherever he wanted.
He was the number 1 fantasy guy, like 5 years in a row or something.
Yeah.
He has played a total of 3 games in the playoffs.
Jeez.
All at age 22.
Jeez, it's been over a decade since he's been in the playoffs. He's
exactly,
like
2014, like we just said.
It's just annoying, though. I know. It's just sad, though. You just keep thinking, because remember early 2000s, the Angels were going all the time.
Yep.
And
I mean,
then he shows up.
He's a 3-time MVP, 11-time All-Star Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. And I don't even know what his total WAR is. I think he averages like 6.
You know what his career WAR is? Anyone want to guess? Anyone?
90-something.
Well, hold up. So we can calculate pretty close. So this is his, what is this? The
14th season.
14th year.
I would say conservatively he's averaged 4. Because he's had some injuries. So that's, I would say 70.
I'm going to say 73.
Dex.
I got to get over 80. He was just so good for so many of those years. Like, he got like 60 in 5 years.
86.2.
Nice.
Career
Woo.
WAR.
All right. Well, I didn't put a lot of
86.2.
stats next to Mike Trout because even neophytes that don't know much about baseball like me knows that you can just put in all the superlatives. Mike Trout is all of that, but he's 33. Is he going to be great? Is he not going to be great? No one's going to know. You're probably going to draft him in fantasy at some place in the middle rounds and hope that he can have lightning in a bottle again, right?
He's going to be great if he plays. Injury is the biggest if, I think. But
All right.
For sure.
So
For
big
sure.
ad, they went out and got Jorge Soler, who is also 33, but he's
Solar power.
he is Soler, which is hilarious because Soler is the same age, 33, but he does not have the same miles on his body as Mike Trout.
Right.
Mike Trout played a month, got a 1.1 WAR. Jorge Soler played a year and got a 1.1 WAR. Now remember, that's partly because Jorge Soler does not play defense, so he gets essentially no contribution from defense to his WAR. But he was a 241, 338.
Even when he does play defense, he doesn't play defense.
So, which kind of like annoys me because Jorge Soler knocked a 338 OBP, which definitely plays, is pretty good. And that meant he walked a substantial amount, and he did not do that for the Royals, and that, of course, is a big bugaboo for me. He had 21 home runs. He was playing for San Francisco last year, and he parlayed that into who wants a 2-year contract. Guess how much?
How about 15?
12
Two
million
for
a year.
15?
16
be
million a
that.
year for 2 years.
16 a year
16. Wow.
Yeah,
for 21 homers and a 1 WAR
Yeah, no thank you.
Ugh.
No thank
for
you.
his getting older
Hey, you know what
years.
that sounds like? That sounds like
Hunter
what we call
Renfroe.
a typical Angels
I
contract.
started to
It
say,
does.
sounds a lot like the Albert Pujols contract that they're still paying on, I think.
Hey
Well,
Lou,
I
so
do
you've gone
agree.
through this lineup, and it seems like we're missing Anthony Rendon. Speaking of excellent contracts,
Oh, yeah.
so where
Anthony
is that $40 million
Rendon?
a year guy?
I didn't even put him on here because no one expects him to play, and no one has expected him to play, and it's just a sad, depressing thing.
Wow.
What a
Are you
waste!
serious?
He's not even. Yeah,
He is
no one
not
even has
even-
him anywhere on their radar that he might play this year.
Is he hurt or is he just
Dexter, I didn't put
AWOL?
you on here either, and you guys have the same legitimate chance to play, right? Like,
One of those people is making $40 million a year, though.
Yes.
again, so,
So-
for the Patreon folks, I do want to bring this up. This is kind of crazy to me, and we'll also throw in Christian Moore. He is a drafted last year guy, which everybody's now projecting he may make the team, but this is apparently a Angels thing. They try to bring somebody up early. He's 22, second baseman, right-handed. No stats last year other than he played for Tennessee. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. He was great last year. He was in the College World Series. They won the World Series. They're going to try to force him into the relatively light hitting lineup they have. It might work out. It might not. What I think is important to note, as much as they do bad contracts, which is not very often, but they're really bad, like the Soler one and like the Rendon one, literally everybody else in that starting lineup, other than Yohan Moncada, we don't know if he's even going to play, they are all drafted by, developed by the Angels. Every single one of them.
That's kind of crazy.
And that just seems unbelievable to me that even like Yohan Moncada was not really a White Sox in perpetuity. He was a Boston Red Sox briefly kind of guy. These are all drafted by, developed by the Angels. So, and they're not, again, they're young if they're not great. So they have room to grow type folks. It's just so weird. If they just were run a little bit more competently, this would be a very good team.
Pin in the Anthony Rendon discussion on Wednesday. It was announced. Well, I guess it was a couple weeks ago that he is now undergoing left hip surgery and will be out, quote, a significant amount of time.
I think he's been out a significant amount of time for 3 straight seasons.
Well, he underwent a season-ending right hip surgery in July of 2022, so now he's having the same procedure done on
Again,
the other
he is
hip.
retired on active duty, man. This dude
Yes.
he is classic. He is never playing another game. Don't
He's
get it to your
med-boarded.
heads. He's done.
So, Lou, I'm looking up and down the lineup here. You got all the numbers. We don't have them, in a lineup yet, but I'm looking at all their OPSs, and this team is like the same player over and over from an OPS standpoint.
Right?
Yeah.
They are so clustered. They're all
Yeah.
730 to 750 range.
The exception of Trout, they're all
Yeah,
the same.
Trout
They all
hits a
have
ton, but they're all kind of the same player. It looks like.
Yeah, they hit for a low average other than Rehifo, and they don't get on base very much, but they hit a decent amount of home runs. And that's
Yeah.
what kind of keeps them around and
Yeah, like
in
a lot
discussions.
of them. Like the offense isn't that bad. And you look at it, it's not that bad of an offense. But if I remember correctly, they have never addressed pitching. Like in their history,
they address it
feel like
poorly.
Yes,
with bad people. And Ohtani was awesome. Last good guy.
Which we're going to get to now. So they went out and got their ace. They decided, we got this. We're going to get our ace. And they signed Yusei Kikuchi. He was a free agent, right? So last year, he pitched for Toronto, okay. And then he went to Houston in a trade because Houston was going for their playoff push. And he just was awesome with Houston. Like, he was lights out. He was like their best pitcher down the stretch. He was amazing. He ended up being 9th on the Cy Young balloting because of how great he was last year. Turned free agent at 33, and the Angels signed him to 3 years, 21 per year for a 33-year-old left-handed pitcher who posted a 1.4 WAR last year.
This is the Angels on repeat.
Unbelievable.
They do this every time. They are the worst evaluator of starting pitching I've ever seen.
They're not competing right now. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's so much money.
Just tank and get another high pick.
For a 1.4 WAR starting pitcher.
He had a 4.05 ERA last year. He had a great strikeout to inning pitch ratio, and he had a decent whip. And mostly this was just based upon a couple months with Houston where he was electric amazing. His stats were way better with Houston than with Toronto.
If you're going to spend that kind of money, though, do it on that 26-year-old, not a 33-year-old.
Yeah, and before Dexter asked, he also was an All-Star in 2021. Full stop. That's his resume.
That's
right
his
there.
resume.
Yeah.
We're using the term ace loosely.
Okay, not the oldest starter in their starting rotation. In fact, he's third oldest. All right, because the next guy, Tyler Anderson, is 35. He posted,
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, he posted a 3.1 WAR, 3.81 ERA, 179 innings with 142 strikeouts.
Pitch to contact.
He was an all-star, but that pitch to contact stuff is so highly variable. You can have success, but the batting average, balls in play stuff will catch up to you.
That's loosely used.
He technically was their all-star rep last year. So he signed $13 million per year.
Looking at this roster, it's hard to pick.
In February,
right?
He signed a $13 million per year for 3 years in his 35-year-old season.
Oh my gosh, they're paying a lot for some old.
Is their GM literally a drunken sailor? Because that's what it seems like. This dude signed the contract. He's like, "How much you need?"
Yeah.
All right.
What's it take to get this guy in here?
So then moving on, they finally have a young guy in Jose Soriano. Had a reasonably good year last year, posted 2.1 WAR,
young-ish.
3.42 ERA, 113 innings, 97 strikeouts. So he didn't even pitch a full season because he was a transition. He's a transitional guy who's been moving from the bullpen to a starter role. So he hasn't necessarily always got all the starts. And then we have another 35-year-old, Kyle Hendricks, who has
classic rock.
Cubs guy.
Yeah.
Who was so awesome. He was a minus 1.6 WAR guy last year.
This guy's past his prime.
Guys
didn't have a prime.
These stats are amazing. 5.92 ERA and 130.2 innings pitched. 87 strikeouts in 130 innings.
That's classic Kyle Hendricks.
1.454 WAR. Now, if you want to go back and look, I mean, this guy was 7th in the Rookie of the Year balloting in 2014. He Was third in the Cy Young balloting in 2016. He was a down ballot MVP candidate. He was near Cy Young candidate in 2020.
Really good.
Right. Awesome, right? And so what happened was he became a free agent. He was signed on a $2.5 million 1 year. Hey, do you still have some magic kind of a deal? At least this was a reasonable contract, though. I don't think many people would have tried that. Again, if this is your fourth, not fifth starter, this is your fourth starter, why are you shelling out these massive deals for these old pitchers to try? I don't know.
There's no strategy in the front office for sure.
Right.
So you got to bet the overruns on Hendricks games.
So then they have a warm body slated for their fifth starter. He's a 24-year-old right-hander, Kokanowitz, right? He had limited action last year, pitched reasonably well. Again, there is no emphasis.
Navigated that one really well.
There's no emphasis on strikeouts. This guy had 65 innings and 25 strikeouts last year.
That is incredible. I've never seen so few.
Exactly.
They have one guy who can strike people out in the starting rotation.
And they just signed him to a massive deal until he's like 50. So, whatever, man, I don't know.
I mean,
what do you do
in the world?
Wow.
Yeah.
They need to bring in specifically a pitching consultant for their organization, and he just needs to be the guy. They're like, listen, you do all the pitching contracts. We'll just be over here doing.
Well, maybe they got someone youthful and in their prime for the closer duties, Lou.
Yeah.
Well played. Yeah. So on the same day they signed Yoan Moncada, they went out and went for the fountain of youth and got Kenley Jansen, who is
my God.
the grandpa on the staff at 37.
Oh my gosh.
Now
was Lee Smith not available or what?
For a lot of Shrewdness listeners out there, Lee Smith was a pitcher for many, many, many years ago. You might as well have said was Sandy Koufax not available because for how far back you're reaching with Lee Smith.
Maybe Lee Smith is the pitching consultant for the Angels.
Yeah, it's like this guy still got a little something. Back in my day,
I'm pretty sure this guy still got it.
Yeah, I mean McKinley Jansen did show up with a golden chalice though, so maybe, just maybe, it'll work out.
So he was. If those who haven't listened to the Red Sox episode, they don't seem to have a closer because they let their closer go. It was Kenley Jansen. He had 27 saves with Boston last year. Decent year, 1.3 WAR, 3.29 ERA. He had 62 strikeouts and 54 innings pitched, and like I said, 27 saves. So, and he's got a resume. Like it's not Hall of Fame, but it's like Hall of pretty good.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah, he was all-star in multiple years.
Oh, yeah.
In
his peak, he was unhittable, man.
So
yeah. He's been to a lot of postseasons.
Again, you want to keep adding in these contracts that are like, are you kidding? He's on a 1-year deal for $10 million.
At 37 years old.
Not too bad compared to these.
It is. Yes, it is.
At least it's only one, though.
No, again, there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, except for this is the one time I would say, I still think this is a pretty bad deal.
It's pretty close to a bad 1-year deal, $10 million.
But he wasn't bad last year, though.
I get it, but he's 37. Anyways,
I know. That's why you do a 1-year deal, and they finally didn't do a 5.
The $10 million could pay 2 to 3 role players, or more.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like their whole team is role players.
Fair, but then you don't need a why are you spending $10 million on a guy who's going to maybe help you win games? Like that's actually not what you're looking to do.
Well, you can trade him potentially to someone streaking in the midsummer.
Fair.
Like they traded Taylor Ward. Like I mean, seriously. So what do we got? Papelbon is a setup guy. I mean, is that what in the hell?
Hey, Papelbon, that guy's within like a realm of reasonably recent Chisholm. All right. Then we have Ben Joyce, 24-year-old right-hander, had a pretty darn good year last year. He did some closing for the Angels. I don't know why they didn't just stay with a 24-year-old guy who had a 2.08 ERA and 34 innings pitched, 33 strikeouts. The guy was good. He was better than Kenley Jansen, and he was supposed to be their closer. Why they went out and got another closer, I don't know. But
not seasoned enough.
24. Yeah, again, you have somebody
Got an extra $10 million burning a hole in somebody's pocket.
And then there was setup guy, now their third, kind of whatever, high leverage guy, 26-year-old Ryan Zafarjan. who in very limited, he had a 2.12 ERA, 17 strikeouts in 17 innings, 18 strikeouts. But he had a 0.765 whip, which may have been one of the smallest whips I've seen since we've been doing this. They're also relying on a Garrett McDaniels, who they picked up from the Dodgers Rule 5. So he didn't pitch last year in the majors, and he's got to make the team or go back to the Dodgers. So I bet you he makes the team. They
usually do, unless they're really bad.
He's just a lefty warm potato who they're hoping can do lefty warm potato things.
Man, the Twins could take him.
Yep. Yeah. Lefties they teach your kid to throw left-handed because you don't have to be great. You just have to. Although you have to pitch the three batters now. There's no more lookies, right?
Yeah.
It's little thriggies, right? You got to get 3 outs.
Right.
Or 3 batters, I guess. You don't have to do 3 outs. If you're a Royal, it's 3 batters. There's really not much more to talk about. They have a forgivable back end of their pen. So we've got.
What about Brock Burke?
Brock Burke. I think Brock.
Look at all those strikeouts per inning pitch, though.
Yeah.
Brock Burke was the guy who was. Wasn't he a model that I was in love with? Like in
I think he did Blue Steel.
No, that was Brooke Burke. That was Brooke Burke.
Kelly LeBrock, like 40 years ago.
I love Kathy Ireland. What?
So in the pipeline, technically in the pipeline is Christian Moore because he's never played a game, but somehow they have a fast track to the majors program.
I think Zach Neto is like the last one though, so they're not crappy.
That's true.
All right,
it's possible. So they have 2 starting pitchers who may get some more work this year. Caden Dana pitched last year. Caden Dana pitched last year in September. He has been called an innings-eating monster. He's 6'4". He's got command issues. And then they also got somebody in the Carlos Estevez deal from Minnesota. Not the most recent one. This was like the prior Carlos Estevez deal, I guess. And he is a starting pitcher at 23, and he's a back 100 top type prospect. May or may not pitch this year for them. They probably need him to.
I got a question on Caden Dana. How do you earn the reputation of being an eating innings monster at 21?
Yeah.
Right?
Is that like he doesn't throw hard, so he's going to pitch to contact? And he's very
command issues.
Or he just has stamina. Like he's
very durable for a 21-year-old.
10 pitches.
I don't know how you.
I mean, saying a pitcher has command issues is like saying a girl has daddy issues. I feel like this is like a major red flag. Like, stay away.
Baseball America. Dana has the potential to be a workhorse starter in the mid-rotation.
That's good.
It's just like...
That probably applies to about 90% of prospects that they have a chance to be a workhorse.
Doing this exercise, I also want to point out one of those fascinating things, right? You have this guy, Caden Dana. He's a right-handed pitcher, but somehow he bats and throws left-handed. But he's a right-handed pitcher.
Huh.
I don't understand.
There's no way he throws left-handed.
That's what they
missed
say.
Opportunity.
This may be an AI generative, messed up thing, but it specifically says he does both.
Lou, what are we looking at here? If I'm making my bet tomorrow, 72.5.
I mean,
so what is it? 72 and 89. Is that what they're projecting?
Well, 72 and 90,
under.
Right?
Yeah,
we're going to let them play 162 games to each other.
So, honestly, I think it all comes down to one thing. How many games does Mike Trout play? Like, if you take the under and Mike Trout plays 2/3, 3/4 of a season, they're going to go over. They're going to go over. Like, you don't add 5 extra wins out of nowhere. I think that's why the over-under is lower than the projections, because I think the projections feel like Trout's going to play more because they're all computer models, right? They don't expect Mike Trout necessarily to get injured, whereas the boats or the Vegas is all expecting that he's not going to play a bunch, and so they're kind of like pushing low. But if he plays, you're going to get hosed. I just would go. I would go under. I think the West, we've gone through most of the teams now. There's a lot of talent in the West. They're all going to be kind of a middle of the pack talent, but this team is definitely worse than the rest of them. And in the Sacramento A's are not like as bad as one would. They were really actually pretty good compared to their projections last year, and they had talent. They're not as the free wins that they were expected to be last year. And I don't think they're going to be free wins this year. They're at least trying to maintain some type of a competitive product. And there's no reason to pull an Indians anymore. They've already pulled a successful Indians. They're gone. So now you can start spending money on the team. You don't have to skip money on the team at this point. You want a competitive team. I can see the A's actually getting better. And I just don't believe in Trout at 33 is going to be either there or the same Trout. I take the under, and it's not a lock, but it's pretty close to a lock. That's my projection.
Okay. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I can see that.
The odds of having your closer and 3 of your starters all over the age of 33 hold up the whole season, and Mike Trout's history of injury too, that just screams roster problems to me.
So what I want to see is the Angels trading Jansen back to Boston as a closer. Halfway through that's what I want to see, because I can easily see that happening.
The day after Bregman gets traded back to Houston.
Right.
That'd be ideal.
Now think about that. They would have a 37-year-old right-handed pitcher, and they would have a 36-year-old left-handed pitcher who would be like alternate sides of the mound, whichever one they wanted for the
Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
So I think this lineup it's not really as bad. I mean, it looks bad when you say it out loud and you look at all their averages, but they're not horrible. They're going to compete.
I mean,
we've
seen worse lineups.
Just look at it.
I know, but they're not household names, right? I mean, Mike Trout is, but if Solar Power can be decent, if Joe Adele can just, stop striking out all the time. Taylor Ward's not bad. Zach Nito's good. Moncada just needs less Twinkies. O'Hoppe already says he's in the top half of catchers in baseball.
For sure.
I don't know about the first Sean Well, but he might be all right. I don't know. And Christian Moore, I mean, he was going to come up for a cup of coffee until he got hurt in September. So there's some stuff to at least make some noise, but I don't know, man. You're right. It's hard to see them not losing at least 90 games.
You're right. The lineup is
Passable.
A major league lineup. I think throwing all that money into pitching is going to bury them, though. They're just
not that good.
They're setting themselves up for failure on the pitching side for sure. It seems very lopsided to me.
The only thing I can think of is that they thought, all right, this is Mike Trout's last stand, and let's try to give him the best team we can buy while not actually spending bazillions, getting the Juan Sotos and whatnot.
The trick is he has to actually be standing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope so.
They should be transactional. They should just start
all of them.
Nobody, including Mike Trout, should not have a for sale sign on their forehead every freaking game. And again, but that's not the way it is, because why else would you get Jorge Soler 2 years to $16 million a year? That's insane.
I would say have a fire sale, but that's just not a good topic right now for LA.
Yeah, fair.
So we just need to make sure that they are doing what they need to do to try and get younger in key spots, i.e. pitching. Because they don't even have – there's no help coming. There's no one in the system coming up. Even on the trash bag teams we've talked about, at least the White Sox have pitching coming. The Rockies have pitching coming.
Those two guys could make an appearance.
Yeah, and some say that this Caden Dana may take one of those spots.
Yeah.
I mean –
but they're not really top prospects, though.
No, not at all.
Right. The crazy thing about Trout is, they basically – signed an Albert Pujols deal with him, so it's hard to trade him now.
Yeah,
because he's signed through 2030. Okay, his age 38 year, and he's making $37 million a year.
Yeah.
So
and you already can't stay healthy.
You don't want Mike Trout for those years? I mean, at $37 million a year,
no.
What are you doing? It's just. They don't.
He broke his own
logic to their contracts.
So we haven't talked about the Padres yet, but we'll have similar conversations when we talk about them. So.
Yeah, they're known for it as well, right? So it's come on, guys! They didn't even set it up where they could trade their best trade piece. It's just so
Yeah, it's
Angels.
pretty bad.
Right.
All right, I don't know if there's much else
All right.
to talk about with these.
Yeah,
guys.
that's right.
Busy.
They're an under, and
Polish this turd.
move them on.
Put a bow on it.
All right, we're out of here on the Angels. Thanks for joining again. Appreciate your support as Shrewdness followers. We will be back next time with another team.
Join the Patreon.
Take care and stay
Stay shrewd.
shrewd.